Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be applying the sine law. So again, you can use either ratio here. You can use it with the length over the sine of the angle or vice versa. And again, you only need two of the ratios, not all three. It's just showing that for the triangle. Okay. So in this one, we're looking for angles F and angle E. All right. So again, in order to use the sine law, there's going to be a few different. So let's go back and make sure we have a scenario. So remember, the sine law means that we need to have two sides and the angle opposite a known side. Okay. And we need to have two angles in any side. So two angles and one of the adjacent sides here, or two angles and a side in between. This is when you're going to use the sine law. Okay. So let's look at our example and see what we have. So we do have a side and an angle opposite of that, and we do have side F. So we can find angle F, and then once we have angle F, then we can obviously find angle E by just subtracting the two from 180. Okay. So I'm going to take a portion of this formula here. All right, we're going to use this. Copy. Okay. And again, I only need one of the ratio, like two of them, right? One equal sign, obviously. Okay. So we're going to label this, obviously. So we have D, and then side D, lower D, and then we have sine F and lower F. Okay. So we can manipulate the equation that we're given, right? So we can always take the given formula and manipulate it to how we need it to work. Obviously without changing the ratios, of course. Okay. So side D we know, or sorry, angle D we know it's 80 degrees. So we put in 80 degrees. Sine of 80 degrees. We know the side opposite of 80 is 37, so we don't need to put the units in, we just put 37 here. Sine F, we're looking for angle F, and then the side opposite of F is 28. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take that and you're going to manipulate that formula. Okay? So the first step, what we'd have to do is we have to multiply both sides here by 28. Okay? So I multiply both sides here by 28. This leaves me with 28 is up here, right? Multiply both sides by 28. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. Right? This 28 divides with this 28, that's why we did it. Leaving you with sine F. Okay? So we can fix this up. And we say sine F is equal to 28 multiplied by sine 80 over 37. And you can do that directly right in your calculator. Okay? Do that directly right in the calculator. All right? Some people will leave that and they'll do the inverse sign, but I don't want to get you too confused with that. So I will figure out what that is to at least 4 places after the decimal. That's a rule of thumb that I was always taught, and I think it's a good idea to do that. So we go to our calculators, clear what we have on our screen there, and we go right as we see it, 28 sine of 80. And make sure you close your bracket, divided by 37. 0.7452599, right? So I leave that number right in my calculator, okay? So again, like I said, I'm going to leave this in my calculator. And then the last operation, what you're going to do is, you're going to have F. So angle F. Angle F is equal to the inverse sine of this number here. Okay? Now again, that's still in my calculator. So once I do that, I get inverse sine, and on my calculator you can do second function answer, and what that does, it brings that number down, or you can just write that number in. Okay, it's up to you. And I hit enter, and I get 48.1814. So I get 48.1814. You don't need that much, right? And it doesn't say this. Doesn't say what to round the angle to. So I'll go to at least one place at the decimal of the 10th place of a degree. So angle F is equal to 48 degrees. Or 48, sorry, decimal 2 degrees. My apologies. 48 decimal 2 degrees. So angle F is equal to 48 decimal 2 degrees. Now angle E is pretty easy to find. We know that the three angles in a triangle add up to 180. So that's just going to be 180 minus 42, or 48 decimal 2, minus 80, right? The original 80 was in the triangle, okay? So, angle E is equal to, we add these two together, we get, because they're both negative, we get 128 decimal 2, and subtract that from 180, and we get 51 decimal 8. 51 decimal 8. 180, and that angle, and there's 51 decimal 8. Okay? For angle E. And that's it. So we know angle F. And we could find the other side if we want to. And we're going to learn how to do that. Now again, you can't use Pythagorean theorem. That's a misconception people make. Pythagorean theorem only works with a right angle triangle. So it's very, it's, like I said, it's a common mistake people will make when doing that. Okay? So, that's it for this video. And, or sorry, that's it for this example. My apologies. And next we'll look at finding a side. And example number 2. So the same triangle, we're going to look for that side E now. We're going to find that, so we'll continue. So we already have all the information here. So there's a number of ways we can do this when we're solving. So again, we're applying the sine law here today, so we're not using cos. So what we'll do is we'll grab this formula up here. Okay. We'll take this part of the sine law. Remember, you don't need the whole thing. You just need to have 2 of the 3 ratios. All right. And then we'll fill in what we got. So we know E. We'll look for side E right here. Okay. And that'll be using angle E is the opposite, right? And then you can pick either one. I recommend picking D. It was given, but again, it doesn't make a difference. You could use F. Like I said, it's not going to change. So that'll be D and then sine D. All right. So we'll fill in what we know, and then we'll solve for E. All right. So E is what we're looking for. Angle E we found to be 51 decimal 8. So we'll take that 51 decimal 8 that we found. Decimal 8. Side D was given at 37, and angle D was given at 80 degrees. So I'll grab that 80 degrees as well. All right, and we're just substituting the values in. Okay. So now we're going to solve. So in order to solve for E, that means we're going to have to multiply both sides by the sine of 51 decimal 8. Bracket sine 51 decimal 8. Whatever you do to one side, do it to the other. Right? Multiply both sides. So the sine 58 divided by sine 51 decimal 8. There's no need of taking that value right now. It'll just make it pretty ugly, right? Okay. So E is equal to 37 multiplied by sine 51.8 divided by the sine of 80. You can do all of that in one calculator, just got to be careful. It's very simple to do. I'm going to show you how to do it on the calculator, especially if you're using one of the calculators from our class here that we have, because you can see it, put it in exactly like this, right? So we have 37 sine, so we have 37 the sine of 51.8, 51.8 there, and then we're going to divide it by the sine of 80. Then we just hit enter, and we get 29.5, 29.525, and so on. So we get E equal to 29.525, and so on. Again, if they do not say how to round it, you're going to round it to one place after decimal with a tenth place. So we get E equal to, there it is. The 2 leaves the 5 and a 5 in the units of centimeters. Okay? So let's take a look and see if these answers are making sense. So remember, we talked about in the first video that the longest side is the biggest angle. So the biggest angle was 80. So this ended up being 37. Is the longest side. 28 was with this angle F, and angle F was 48.2. And then we have 29.5, which is the middle length, right? That was the smallest with the smallest angle. And then this angle was 51.8, and this side was 29. So all of the answers make sense. It's nice just to take a look to make sure, my answer is reasonable, is what we're looking for, right? That's the goal. So yes, our answers are reasonable. So that's how you use the sine law to find an angle and a side length. All right. So in the next video, we'll look at the question here. They don't give us a triangle, so we'll have to draw the triangle. But thanks for watching, and like I said, we'll pick it up in the next video. Hope these help.